Mike from Imagine Eating, and today we're going to show you how to make the ribs from Morimoto Asia in Disney Springs.
Oh man, these ribs are so good. They are sweet, sticky, a little bit spicy, totally delicious. They are one of my favorite things, a must-get when I go to Morimoto Asia, and now we're going to show everybody how to make them at home.
So excited. So you're going to take your rack of ribs and put them in a deep pan?
Yeah, the silver skin on the back of the bones there has been removed. I did that by hand. We're also using back ribs here. At Morimoto Asia, they do use spare ribs, and there is a difference in those cuts. Those spare ribs are a little bit longer. So we're just using these because it's what we had on hand.
The first step in this process is to create your braising liquid, and we have some ginger, some garlic, and some onion.
Yep, and those are just being dropped right into the pan. And braising liquids just allow you to cook things in a liquid for a long time at a very low temperature. So this is just all going to provide flavor to that braising liquid. And here we have some rice wine that I'm using. Any cooking wine will do, but rice wine made the most sense with the ingredients that we're using.
You want to make sure you disperse all your ingredients.
Absolutely. And the next thing that we're going to do, once we have kind of our herbs and our garlic and our onions in there, we're going to add some water because that's where this braising liquid is going to get most of its body from, is from water.
We're showing you about 2 cups that we added here, but we actually added about 6 cups.
Yeah, you almost want to cover the ribs completely if you can. And then we're going to finish it off by adding a little bit of tamarind paste that we've diluted in a little bit of water. And that's going to give even more flavor. And so now that we have our braising liquid ready, we're going to cover this with foil. It's going to go into a 250-degree oven for 3.5 hours.
And this is what's going to make the ribs really melt off the bone.
Absolutely. All right, so now we need to get into that sauce, that sweet, sticky, spicy sauce. It's going to be a mix of predominantly sweet chili sauce and hoisin sauce. We're also going to have some rice wine vinegar and fish sauce in there as well, and a little bit of white sugar and soy sauce too.
So first you start with your chili sauce.
Yeah, the ratio here, 3-to-1. So we're going 1.5 cups of the sweet chili sauce to 1/2 cup of the hoisin. Now, I will say we did make some modifications to the recipe. We adjusted a little bit the fish sauce, the rice wine vinegar, and the soy sauce because when we looked at the recipe, we found that they were a little bit heavy on those. And there's already a lot of salt in that sweet chili sauce, so we wanted to dial the salt down a little bit. So that's why we've made some modifications here. And we'll tell you about those when we get to them.
We really didn't miss it from the flavor. That sodium wasn't really all that necessary.
No, I agree. Now, another addition that we made here is that we added some sriracha. We didn't do that on camera, but we did it for a little bit of heat. And one of the reasons why you're going to add heat to something sweet is heat is a great way to offset sweetness. In the same way that sweetness is a great way to offset heat. They keep each other in a really nice balance.
For measurements, make sure to see the recipe and the details of this video.
Yeah, we used a teaspoon of rice wine vinegar, a teaspoon of soy sauce, and a dash of fish sauce. Those are the big modifications that we made from the recipe.
And then you mix it all up.
Yeah, you're going to mix it all up, and this doesn't require any cooking or anything like that. You can actually keep this at room temperature. I do like heating it a little bit before you apply it to the ribs because it's going to loosen it up a little bit.
So this is what it looks like once your ribs come out of the oven?
Yeah, so these have rested at room temperature, so that way they are now easy to handle. And so we're going to basically take this rack of ribs, we're going to dry it off, and then we're going to cut the individual ribs here because we need to deep fry them.
Now, why do you dry the rack of ribs before you put it in the fryer?
You never want to put anything that has a lot of moisture in your fryer. Imagine if you dropped an ice cube in your deep fryer. It would create an angry, bubbling mess that could potentially bubble over, start a fire in your kitchen. It's really not safe, and also, it's not great for the food itself. You want to make sure it's as dry as possible, also so that the cornstarch will adhere to the ribs.
Why did I think of Taka when you said a hot, angry mess?
Oh, wow, that's... Because you always have a Disney movie in your heart.
This is true.
Alright, so I am going to cut these ribs. I'm going to cut them in half to make the rack a little bit more manageable to work with, but after I've cut them in half, I'm going to go ahead and just slice off individual ribs. Use a sharp knife. Use your sharpest knife, the one that you only use on certain occasions for this bad boy. Because if you use a dull knife here, you may shred your ribs into pieces. You want a good sharp blade. And now we're going to cut those individual ribs.
This part was difficult only because of the smell from the braising liquid was delicious and I just wanted to bite into them right then and there.
That braising liquid, if you do a few extra things with that, you could turn that into a really delicious pork ginger broth for soup. Unbelievable. Outrageous smells come from that pan when you take it out of that braising liquid. Alright, so we've got some cornstarch in our bowl here, and we're just going to toss those ribs in there and coat them in cornstarch. Not too much. You want to, after you get them coated, you want to kind of shake them off, and then put them on a rack so they can sit as they prepare for their frying.
You want to get a nice coating there before you put them on the rack.
This is what gets that crispiness. When you bite into one of those ribs at Morimoto Asia, there's that little crispiness. That's where this step comes in. Getting that little bit of that kind of light breading on there, and then getting it into the deep fryer. Now this is vegetable oil at about 350 degrees. I'm just going to go ahead and lay those ribs in there. You do not want to crowd the pan here. The reason you don't want to crowd the pan is twofold. One, you don't want to have any spillover because you're going to start a fire in your kitchen. And then secondly, the more stuff you put in the pan, the more it brings down the temperature of the oil. You want a good hot oil, so that way the oil doesn't soak into the food and make it greasy. This will allow it to stay nice and crisp. So I did batches of about 4 at a time, and this is really going to be 2 to 3 minutes at 350 degrees.
This is what they look like once they come out of the frying and they're sat for a little bit.
Yeah, now they're pretty easy to handle. At this point, they are ready to be sauced. So we're going to put all of the ribs in our bowl here, and we're going to ladle over a little bit of that sauce. Again, like I said earlier, we did heat up the sauce a little bit because it kind of loosens it up and makes it better adhere to the ribs.
It also helps with the caramelization of that sugar.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to put a few ladles of our sauce in here, and then we're going to give those ribs a toss. Just toss them in the sauce.
Toss them in the sauce.
That's right. The sauce toss. And you can do this however you like. You can even stir them in there, or if you're trying to be fancy like I am, you can just flip them around in the bowl. Don't lose a rib like I almost did just there. After we have these coated in their sauce, we're actually going to put them back in the oven under the broiler. And by doing that, it's going to just, by giving them 3 to 5 minutes under the broiler, they're going to really crisp up. They're going to get a little bit darker in color as that sauce starts to caramelize. Just keep an eye on them when you're broiling, because they will burn if you're not paying attention.
And there's the end result. Oh, look at that. So beautiful, so meaty, so delicious. Make sure to like and subscribe for more recipes of your favorite Disney World dishes.